Hello, my name is State Representative Julie Rogers. I am the current state representative for the 41st District. I have served for 6 years, 3 terms, and that is mostly the city of Kalamazoo, Kalamazoo Township, a little slice of Portage, and a little slice of Comstock. I am running for the open seat in the State Senate 19th District. That is most of Kalamazoo County minus Climax and Waukesha, and added on Antwerp Township and parts of Van Buren County. I am also a practicing physical therapist, and healthcare issues are why I got involved in politics in the first place, trying to improve affordability and accessibility for people across the state. And to this day, the highlight of my political career has been serving as the House Health Policy Chair. Last term, I was able to champion a number of policies, including maternal infant health equity package to help mothers and infants gain access to affordable health care. I am running again in this open seat to serve a wider swath of the population of Michigan, and I'm currently serving on the Appropriations Committee. I am the only Democrat that is in 2 leadership positions. I have the Democrat Vice Chair role on the Medicaid and Behavioral Health Subcommittee, which is turning out to be one of the most important committees as we face significant cuts from the big, beautiful bill, or H.R. 1. I'm also the ranking Democrat Vice Chair for the Military and Veterans Affairs Appropriations Subcommittee. Protecting our veterans and funding and services for them is also paramount. We have over 15,000 veterans in Kalamazoo County, and I think it's important that we serve them. I also serve on Higher Education and Community Colleges Appropriations Subcommittee as a regular member. I have a couple of other leadership positions, the Arts and Culture Legislative Caucus. I call it the Fun Caucus. We try to expose legislators to the arts and champion funding for the arts. It is such an important part of Kalamazoo County and Van Buren. Yeah, I'm also a Biosciences Legislative Caucus co-chair. I am thrilled to partner with so many, but was really thrilled to partner with Senator McCann to bring home over $25 million to expand US 131 Business Loop, which is over 20 years in the making. For more information about me, you can visit my website, www.juliemrogers.com. I think transparency and accountability is paramount. I hold legislative community coffee hours. I always have, even as a county commissioner, I held those coffee hours. So usually at least once a month, I have these coffee hours that are free and open to the public in Kalamazoo. We move them around the district to various coffee shops and parks so that various neighborhoods can have them be accessible in their backyard. I also have social media. I post almost every day various things, how I voted on different bills. If there's an important controversial topic coming up, I reach out to stakeholder groups. I also will say that one of the disappointments that we have not passed in the legislature that I am a champion on is FOIA reform. We're one of the only states that the legislature and the governor is not under FOIA, Freedom of Information Act. Local government is. So that's a policy that I think needs to change. In addition, we send out a monthly e-news. Anyone can sign up for our e-news. We have several thousand people that receive our e-news with legislative updates. And I have the distinction of kind of being a unicorn. We have a special resource in the 41st District, which is the 41st District Service Office located at 315 North Burdick Street. The late Howard Volpe was the legislator at the time who started it, and this was back before the internet and email. You had to call your legislator in Lansing long distance or drive there with expensive gas prices. And so he started the office so that we could be accessible to people in the district. We have kept that running for over 50 years. So we have office hours at the district office, and people are welcome to make an appointment to see me there as well. So the budget is a statement of our values, and interestingly, the entire Michigan legislative delegation from Kalamazoo County, that would be Senator McCann, Representative Longjohn, and myself, are all on appropriations this term. So we have kind of extra hand because we serve on that committee, and we all regularly post on our social medias and websites about that process. In addition, it's a three-legged stool, so the House works on a budget, the Senate works on a budget, the governor has her executive budget recommendation, and all of those are published on Michigan's legislative website, and you can go onto those at any time and see where we're at in the process and write us emails with what you think should be funded, what you think should not be funded. So ultimately, accountability is at the ballot box, which is this coming fall. I also think that we need to be open and transparent, which I referred to earlier, but listening to residents is really important. I am one of the only legislators that goes door to door every year in my district, and I canvass every year, whether there's an election or not, to listen to what people have to say. And so last year we knocked on over 9,000 doors in my district, not with any ask. We actually had a card getting the word out about RX Kids. Kalamazoo was an expansion pilot city for that, and we thought, what better way to get the word out than going door to door and talking to people? And so we had a postcard about that. Many families were not aware of the RX Kids program, and so we were able to share that information. It was very well received. A few years ago, housing continues to be an issue, but we tackled that in the state budget during the Democratic trifecta. What I mean by the Democratic trifecta is that all three chambers, so the House, the Senate, and the governor, had majority Democrats in charge. And so when we worked on our budget, this was one of the things we uplifted, and we put $50 million in for building additional housing stock. Partly prices fluctuate and can skyrocket when there's not enough, when the demand doesn't meet the needs of the community. And so I was proud to put that in. Is it enough? No, but it was a significant step forward in funding this issue. I was also proud as a county commissioner to vote to put the initial Homes for All millage on the ballot. The initial one was kind of a small trial. We were the first one in the state, and so as a Kalamazoo County Commission member, I was pleased to see that be wildly successful. It passed overwhelmingly, and that first one was 0.1 mills for families with children. We soon realized that there's more people in Kalamazoo that have affordability needs and have housing needs than just families with children, and so that was expanded in a subsequent bigger millage. I am also interested in kind of doing the balance. Right now we're having this discussion in Lansing amongst the legislature. There's various competing housing packages of bills, and I'm trying to weigh the importance of streamlining, cutting government red tape, and streamlining some of the permitting processes, which I think can sometimes cause delay with housing projects and developments in communities. But we have to be careful and not be overly heavy-handed at the state level, because if you've seen one community or county, you've seen one community or county. What works in South Haven or Detroit or the Upper Peninsula might not work in Kalamazoo. So making sure we have a balance so that there's some local government input, but also streamlining the permitting process, I think, is really important. So public safety, I think, starts like many things with relationships. And so I meet regularly with our local law enforcement, whether it be city, township, or county. I have held various roundtables and listening sessions with stakeholders in the community and law enforcement. I think this is really important with what's happening across the nation with ICE raids, and having these community conversations up front is really important. I also hosted a roundtable with the Attorney General, Dana Nessel, and law enforcement, as well as other stakeholders in our community, to have them be able to listen to each other. Something else I was really proud to champion in a past budget there's quite a bit of homelessness that is also overlapped with mental health needs and addiction needs. And so I've worked on championing resources at the state level for mental health and addiction services to meet people where they're at. The other thing I think that's important is that when there are potential crimes committed by individuals that may have mental health or substance use disorder or co-occurring both of them, we need to meet people where they're at and get them the treatment that they need. And so I was able to help secure $500,000 in the budget for mental health and social work professionals to ride along and be embedded within Kalamazoo's law enforcement so that they can have those specialists help people instead of bringing them to jail and locking them up in a facility that doesn't meet their needs. So there were several things, again, that we did 2 years ago in the Democratic trifecta. One was expansion of the Working Families Tax Credit, known as EITC. So we were able to expand that for many middle-class families, put more money in people's pockets. Another area that I had heard from several residents throughout the years of my public service is our senior citizens. Many seniors are on fixed incomes, and so we were able to phase out and cut the senior pension tax that was put in several years ago under Republican leadership. I would also say that public-private partnerships are important. We have a lot of brownfields. I served on the county's Brownfield Redevelopment Authority Board for over 10 years, back when I was a county commissioner. And so those contaminated, blighted areas are really hard to redevelop because they're so expensive. Making sure that we're investing in both cleaning up our blighted areas in Kalamazoo County and the surrounding areas, as well as reinvesting and redeveloping to get things back on the tax rolls, ultimately is a win-win that helps local governments be self-sustaining while bringing jobs to the community. One of the biggest anti-poverty, anti-hunger things we did under Democratic leadership was free breakfast and lunch for all school children. I am very proud to have cast a vote and put that in budgets. It was in last year's budget actually as well, so it's received bipartisan support over the years. And it also destigmatizes that free and reduced lunch ticket that children used to get a meal ticket if they were free or on the free or reduced lunch program. So we have heard from educators across the public school system that has really gone a long way to feeding children and keeping their bellies full, because it's difficult to educate someone when they're hungry. Other things that I think are important are supporting our neighborhood community associations, which I was able to help champion different things in the budget for things like the Ecumenical Senior Center, El Concilio, and various community nonprofits that really help do the lion's share. Back to my district service office, the 41st District Service Office, we are a hub and a champion for referring people to other nonprofits. I always say that Kalamazoo is very resource rich, but it's very difficult sometimes for people to know where to go or how to navigate all these different services. So being a connector and being in touch with the community, I think, can really help with getting people the resources that they need. Thanks for the question about equity. Equity is so important, and when we serve our most marginalized, it really is a tide that lifts all boats. And so being intentional about policy that is equitable is important to me. I actually held a hearing on maternal infant health disparities when I was the chair of the Health Policy Committee in the House. I also championed a maternal infant health equity package of bills. There were 10 bills in the package, and 9 of them were signed into law. I'm very proud of that work. A couple of buckets in that were making sure that insurance companies provide coverage for mental health screenings for pregnant and postpartum individuals, as well as making sure there's a condition called preeclampsia during pregnancy, high blood pressure, hypertension, and sometimes that can have, when that skyrockets and is not treated, that can have a really significant input on the development of the fetus inside the womb of the mother. And so we also required insurance companies to provide coverage for blood pressure monitors. And the other one that was in the package that was one of my bills that I sponsored was HIV breast milk testing. So for people that wanted to donate their breast milk, Bronson Hospital was the first breast milk bank in the state of Michigan. We are the only state that had an onerous HIV testing that every 90 days, if you wanted to donate milk, you had to be tested for HIV. And so we got rid of that, and the policy now is just like every other state in the country, a one and done test, which has led to increased milk donations. And so for those of that can't produce milk or that for whatever reason need supplement, we're feeding babies not only in our region, but they have so much milk that they are able to help with the surrounding regions. So it's really been a happy story, and we're helping the entire region, surrounding states as well. I am very concerned about the health of democracy. Frankly, things are breaking at the federal level. We've had some concerning things happen as well at the state level. And I think people need to really be paying attention and focused on standing up and executing their voting rights. The freedom to vote is foundational to who we are as Americans. The recent Supreme Court decision striking down key sections of the Voting Rights Act is alarming, and I will do everything I can to continue to uplift Michiganders' right to execute their freedom to vote. In fact, I championed a policy that was signed into law. One of my bills that I sponsored was signed into law, codifying the practice of being able to request an absentee ballot online through a secure portal. Prior to our current Secretary of State, Jocelyn Benson, you couldn't do that. And so while it's her policy, her office's policy, it was important to provide or to codify that into Michigan law. So I would encourage everyone to get out and vote. Make sure you research the candidates. I appreciate Public Media Network for hosting these candidate interviews, but make sure you're paying attention and looking at the news sources. That's another. I started a youth advisory council. It was the first one in Kalamazoo County, and we talk a lot about this with our youth because they're trying to discern and wade through all kinds of media sources, and so we've had a lot of robust discussion about what is a credible news source. So I really enjoy talking with young people. I've given talks with Boy Scouts, Girl Scouts, lots of school groups, and I have a speech that I have kind of pre-done, prepared, pre-written about the power of one vote. And so I just am here to remind everyone that so many different elections have come down to a handful of votes. There's been recounts in very close elections, so your voice, your vote matters. And I encourage everyone to get out every time, not just in the presidential election. So much we do at the state level and local level affects everyday life, from clean, safe drinking water to funding the roads to our public schools. So there are so many things beyond the presidential election that are impacting your daily life. And I encourage everyone to be able to get out and cast that, as well as keep yourself informed. I also wanted to uplift environmental protection. So again, we have federal policy from federal government employees and the EPA that are rolling back many environmental protections. I'm here to champion those things at the state level. When I worked on the County Commission's Brownfield Redevelopment Authority Board, we were very reactionary in cleaning up blighted and contaminated properties. So we're trying to be a little bit more proactive at the state level with policies that prevent pollution from happening in the first place. We also know that climate change is real, and doing whatever we can at the state level to have higher clean energy standards. We were able to push forward a clean energy package of bills a few years ago, and so we're just starting to see some of those policies come into effect. I am an all of the above kind of energy policy person, but you can visit my website for more information on some of those details, www.juliemrogers.com. I wanted to also say that I am the Democratic nominee. I am the Democrat in this race for state Senate. I do not have a primary, but I encourage everyone to vote in the primary, which is on August 4, and then I will also be on the ballot November 3rd. Thank you for your time and being an informed voter.